Animation is hard. But wait, is it really? Actually, let me rephrase that. Animation is a labor of love and dedication. It takes time, patience, and vision, which from experience can be a bit frustrating. To put it simply, watching animations, being on the other side of things where the importance is put on the product and not the work it took to animate in the first place, is a disservice in itself. This reality shows a bit of a cognitive dissonance. Although, to be fair, two truths can be the same at once. On one hand, animation can be very difficult due to the nature of the work, and the other is that this nature specifically is influenced by circumstance. Ergo, it is not inherently difficult by nature, but rather by differing factors that make it as such. It's because of that cognitive dissonance I mentioned before that the art of animation is thereby described as difficult. But that also may have something to do with the culture that surrounds it. It would be wise to note that culture alone is not fully responsible for this difficulty, though it can be accurately described as an umbrella idea wherein deadlines, perfectionism, expectations, and familiarity influence animations and animators as a result. So first off, the culture of animation can be brutal and fast-paced. Tireless work, hard work, outright gruesomely demanding. Sometimes hours of animating is the equivalent of 4 seconds of an idea of an animation. The completion of a fully fledged animation takes years. Not including the 5 fundamental steps it usually takes for the process to work, which obviously makes animation take longer than people expect. I mean, the process alone takes time and a half. Doing all the steps and doing them properly takes what feels like a millennium. And so, the steps are as such: a concept or idea, script writing, storyboarding, design, and finally, animation. So boom. Here's the thing. This culture also shapes expectations, and coincidentally, expectations are shaped by perfectionism and familiarity. So in a way, it's a bit cyclical in function. Animation is amazing, and the creators of these mediums should be appreciated for their contributions to the art form. For truly, to make a vision come to life, you have to set goals. But for those like me, who are a bit anal retentive, the difficulty comes from within. Stressed by the very thing I anchor all my time into, perfect, unfortunately, makes even me fear failure. This perfectionism can make the task feel all the more difficult. But again, this is not the only culprit. There is added pressure from outside influences. Like I said before, on one hand, animators put pressure on themselves to make the kind of projects that reflect them and their capabilities to the best of their abilities. Then there are outside influences, and they are there are usually multiple sides to these influences. The first comes from deadlines, an integral part of all animation processes, and this especially so for networks. Deadlines can be changed for better or worse, meaning it can sometimes be an unknown and therefore cause stress when not accurately and concisely agreed upon. The second comes from those who have seen previous works of the animator. Those people who have expectations of the same quality, limiting the animator to their past and not truly looking forward to the new things they could do. Not allowing an animator to grow and explore. Not that the animator needs permission. Of course they don't. But this doesn't erase impact. People have a way of loudly proclaiming their dislike for something that took someone a lot of time to come up with. And this is because they believe the animator has to live up to their expectations or all be damned. These are the people that will surely place their opinions distastefully on social media, thinking they have the right to discourage the hard work someone put into their animations. There is a difference between trying something new through trial and laziness. But most people cannot tell the difference because they are not part of the process. And not everything is weird because it is new. Then there are those who have their own perception of animation and what it should look like. This is especially prevalent here in the West. Believe it or not, there is a rule that maybe is unknown to a lot of you. These unknown but enforced rules are the standards of animation. If the animation is anything besides the standard, it is automatically subpar, not worth watching or interacting with, and labeled as lazy or weird. Which is wagging considering the amount of actual lazy and weird stuff we have out here in America. Just sounds a bit biased to me, but what do I know? As you can see, these expectations are both the result of perfectionism and familiarity. People feel they are owed a certain experience with animation without understanding the stakes and commitments. Still, after saying all of this, my original claim was a lie. Or maybe a half-truth. Sure, animation can be difficult. It can be gruesome. But it can also be fun. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes is the right word. Heck, even animation as a hobby can be stressful. I can't lie, but that was only my perfectionism talking. Once I personally put down perfectionism, I regained the childlike joy I felt for animation. Truth be told, I was tired of it for a while and was going to give up. But once I gave myself some grace and left perfectionism in the dust, I was able to reach new goals, aka finally starting this channel of mine. I want to stress again that animation is fun, but the culture could be better. What I mean that is that without these stressors, animation is fun. But the culture we have cultivated has made it undoubtedly impossible for it to be so at the moment. I mean, look at all the strikes throughout history. That has to tell people something, right? In conclusion, without the extra elements of the culture, the deadlines, expectation, perfectionism, and familiarity, it could be a less difficult medium. But then, if I'm honest, we probably wouldn't have the animations we do today. Unfortunately, we do need some of these elements for animation to exist. For instance, deadlines are stressful, just as they are absolutely necessary. And perfectionism has allowed animatic masterpieces to be brought to the scene. But just as it has brought greatness, it has also caused fractures and boundaries and burnout. So yes, animation as it stands is in fact difficult, unfortunately. Hey guys, welcome back. This is the second video of my channel. Thank you for watching. Also, if you can hear anime in my background, no